Welcome back for test number 9 in the Total Tactics video series. And you can tell my voice is doing a little bit better, but we're not all the way back. But we are all the way back with another strikerless tactic this week. If you follow me on Twitter, and you absolutely should, it is /stickpiano there on Twitter. And give me a follow there, and you'll be able to get updates for all the videos. You'll get updates for my Twitch stream and everything else you would need to know about Football Manager. So be sure and give me a follow on that platform as well. But on Twitter, I put out a poll this week on what tactic of 3 did you want to see this week, and the winner of the poll was the 41320 strikerless tactic. So that's what we're going to do today, and you will be able to be involved in future polls as well about what tactics you want to see on the channel if you follow me there on that platform. And once again, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, even if you are just picking up this watch from one of your recommended videos. Every subscription helps the content creator as well, especially as the channel pushes on for more and more growth. So please smash that subscribe button, and let's take a look at the tactic. Alright, so this is the tactic, but before we get into the specifics, remember you can always download any of the tactics from the Total Tactics Discord server. There is a link in the description to that, and get involved in the conversation there. The Discord server has over 1,500 users talking about tactics, submitting their own results for their own tactic tests, and just, getting advice and sharing their ideas on Football Manager 2023 tactics. So get involved in the Discord. You can find the download link to this tactic here, and in the description as well, there's a link to a Dropbox folder as well that has all of the tactics from the Total Tactics series so far this season. All right, so let's jump right into it. It is a 4-1-3-2-0 strikerless tactic that is symmetrical, and you can kind of see when you're looking at the tactic here exactly what I mean by that. All of the roles on both sides of the pitch are in fact symmetrical. So we have 2 shadow strikers on attack, 2 defensive wingers on support, 2 inverted wingbacks on attack, 2 ball-playing defenders, and then we have the spine of the sweeper keeper, the anchorman, and the CM on attack. When we look at some of the individual instructions here, tackle harder, shoot less often, so that these shadow strikers get more involved in the press is something that you will see a lot of. We've also got 2 defensive wingers that also share these instructions. Take more risks, cross from the byline, shoot less often, and get further forward. That means these defensive wingers truly do go from byline to byline, and someone with high stamina and work rate is pretty important for this position. Don't worry about marking and tackling. I think that's a little bit of a misnomer about the defensive winger, but work rate, stamina, very important for this position. A little bit of pace never hurts either. It's a vanilla CM attack here as well, as you can see, but the IWBs do have shoot less often because they do find themselves in these forward areas. I want to make sure they turn into providers rather than finishers when they are in those forward areas. Both the ball-playing defenders have dribble more and shoot less often. The anchor has tackle harder. We do want them getting stuck in, making sure they're getting those interceptions and those turnovers. Again, like I said, the CM attack is vanilla. I'm going through all the player roles too. I've been getting a lot of questions about those from Xbox users, so I'm just trying to be a little bit more helpful with those roles. Running down the team instructions, we do have pass into space. It's very important on strikerless tactics that you take advantage of the space in behind the defensive line of the opponent that will step up to meet your shadow strikers. Pass into space is the best way to do that. Working the ball in the box with low crosses to ensure those through balls really do kind of hit those perfect gaps and spaces between the goalie and the defensive line for your shadow strikers to run onto. Again, something we've talked about on the channel. The overlaps with IWBs, make sure that they maintain a little bit of width so they can get the right angle on their diagonal balls into the box, and I'm sure we'll see that in action when we get to the highlights. Slightly higher, shorter passing, this is pretty standard. Fairly narrow, you do want those players like a little bit more compact, working together, forming those little passing triangles, keeping a little bit of possession as well. So we are counter and counter pressing with distributing to fullbacks and center backs and trying to roll it out. Against the AI, you can get away with this. And PvP, this might invite a little bit too much pressure from your opponent's high press, but I know a lot of the viewers don't actually play a lot of PvP, but that's just something to consider. The other trick here to this tactic this week is the much higher defensive line. you will sacrifice some defense against the AI, but maintaining these compact connections where the center backs now can be providers as well with balls through the middle or over the top or into channels for the defensive wingers. The compactness of the two lines really facilitates that as well. And when you are getting attacked, those center backs will back off, they'll drop off more, but we are trying to make sure we put as much compact pressure on the offense as on the opposing offense as we can. And in the highlights, that will become apparent too on what we're looking at for this kind of tactic. So before we get to the results, let's take a look at a couple of the highlights that I was able to find here for this strikerless tactic. On this highlight, we're going to take a little bit of time with it because I think it really does show the compactness of the lines and the ability for the defenders to be involved in the offense as both parts of the build-up and providers, and then also, again, as the finishers too in this instance. So let's take a look at this thing. So here we go. We're starting in defense with Jim City on this highlight. So Jim City steps up a little bit into space, but not too much because it was covered, but then plays it. Ruggieri in this game is playing the left inverted wingback. So this player, right, is not necessarily going to like jam up into this channel. Instead, because of the overlaps, is going to stay a little bit wider, and that's going to make a passing triangle down here with Boga and Pasalic, who's the shadow striker. Boga here, a defensive winger. Look at that. He's one of the most forward players so far in the build-up. So that's something to think about too with these defensive wingers. So back to Ruggieri, passing triangle activated with Boga to Pasalic, and then back to Boga, right? So they're connected still. You've still got these players. Now, he might go all the way back to the defense, or he might try a little curl here, but, you know, there was a big connection there. So Boga takes the curl, but then does have to go all the way back to the defense. But look how high this line is. And look at the triangle here. You know, Jim City's got 3 passing options that are all reasonably safe. There are 2 players here that could maybe jump the ball to Boga here, but he can play it pretty easily to either Scalvini or Okoli to see what the offense can unlock. And I think right here, Scalvini is the right pass, right? There's no one in front of him. He's going to have a good passing angle on whether or not Pasalic or one of these 2 offensive players up at the top of the screen wants to do. So we'll see. Jim City's choice is Scalvini, and we'll pause it again here and look at how many players here on the offensive attack. Up here, all the way here underneath this bar, is the defensive winger on the right. Right here, Ederson and Pasalic are the 2 shadow strikers. And then this is the other IWB that we haven't heard from in this highlight, Mela. But look at how tight all 3 of those players are here too. The Coop Miners is the CM attack, so he's also kind of involved. He's behind this defender already, right? This defender is watching Ederson. This defender now has to cover the defensive winger in the channel and Mela, who's starting to underlap. So you can start to see the overlaps, and you can start to see how many defenders here from the opposing team are doing nothing, right? Spying the ball, overloaded on this side, doing nothing. And this guy out here, right, Stojanovic, their right back, has no one to mark. So one of the things with this like narrow tactic is we're getting inside their defensive lanes and really clogging those areas. So the question is, can Scalvini find the right ball? And obviously we're watching the highlights, so he does. And Scalvini, look at this ball over the top to Mela, and then Mela is able to first time it and score. So I think Scalvini, if he doesn't even take that pass first time, has lots of choices available here. We'll watch this highlight one more time. Scalvini, ball over the top to Mela, and then Mela scores. It really is a nice goal, and it really kind of showed all the pieces and moving parts of this tactic. So it did take a little bit longer to go through this highlight, and hopefully you stuck with me through all of it, but let's take a look at some other quick hitters now. This is a really simple highlight, and I won't spend a lot of time on it, but it does illustrate the power of having the CM attack, 2 shadow strikers running into the box, headed towards that 6-yard box, along with the cross from byline instruction from the defensive winger. So look how deep Boga gets here with this ball. Now, he's not left-footed, so he does cut it back and then pulls it across the top of the 6. Coop Miners is there to deal with the deflection. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys, including the other defensive winger on the back post, all lining up along the 6. Plus, we had Mela, the inverted wingback, waiting for the deeper cutback, in addition to Scalvini, who I think was the anchor man, and Ruggieri, who's a left inverted wingback, all here in the offensive third to keep possession. Just incredible goal, and all unlocked by that cross from byline instruction on the defensive winger. All right, again here, another quick hitter. This is again showing the power of the defensive high line that we can create with those shadow strikers. It's going to be a little bit of recycled possession here, starting with the right inverted wingback, and you're going to see a nice goal over the top to a shadow striker. So Zappacosta goes all the way back to start this play to Sportiello. Scalvini here now to Mele, and then look at how compressed everything is. This is your right inverted wingback, defensive winger, shadow striker here at the bottom of the picture, and the CM attack. It's all very compressed, and the acres of space here behind their two defenders, and it's going to be hit by Ederson perfectly. Mele's ball splits it over the top. There's Ederson. He takes it down. It was a great finish. I think like his first touch let him down a little bit, but into the side netting, and you just saw once again how compressed those lines were, and the diagonals that this tactic creates are just ridiculously effective. All right, so here we go. Ederson running the break. Again, this is one of the shadow strikers carrying the ball. Zappacosta playing defensive winger in this game, and it's just, once again, those shadow strikers hitting the gaps in the middle of the field with the defensive wingers on those deep overlaps. So here we go. Ederson plays this ball down into the channel to Zappacosta. He doesn't make an early pass. He gets all to the byline. He's right-footed, so he sends in the cross. There's Pasalic running towards the penalty spot. Defenders left standing around watching the cross, and it's another goal. All right, as you saw from those highlights, this tactic has a lot of offensive firepower to it and a lot of different ways to score goals. Now, the results are very impressive. One of the best results we've seen so far on the channel this year with Atalanta. Remember, this is not some all-star team. This is a high mid-table Serie A team that challenges for those European places, but isn't one of the top 4 teams in the division. And they have won the Serie A once again with one of the stickpiano total tactics tests, but this time they've done it by 10 points clear of Lazio. We talked about 84 points being a decent benchmark with this Atalanta team. Now, I think 88 points is incredible. And remember, we haven't optimized this squad. We're playing defensive fullbacks as defensive wingers a lot in this tactic. We have a right footer on the left side for the IWB. Mele is not the best choice, I don't think. I like having left-footed left IWBs. I think they are better performing in the match engine. I don't like alternating feet on those IWBs. We don't have super fast shadow strikers that really take advantage. So I think like if you built your team around this tactic, you would see even better results than the 88 points here. We are kind of fitting a square peg into a round hole here with Atalanta. We're not using Duvan Zapata or Luis Muriel for the entire season, which just kind of shows you how powerful this tactic can be. So let's take a look at the results in a little bit more detail, and you'll see only 30 goals against and 78 for a plus 48. This tactic, despite having the much higher defensive line and those inverted wingbacks on attack, is still conceding less than a goal a game, and is the third best defense in all of Serie A this year, which is a pretty good finish. The 78 goals topped the division, and while it's not as prolific as some of the other tactics that we've shown on the channel in terms of goal scoring, that would go up, I think, with optimization on your squad size. Like, I think you can squeeze easily another 10 goals to 20 goals out of this tactic with squad optimization and set pieces, and I'll leave those things to you as you work on developing this tactic. So very quickly, let's run through a little bit of the squad results here and take a look at some of these kind of like stats that we're seeing here. And it's Malinovsky, no surprise there, 17 goals, 15 assists as one of those primary shadow strikers. The CM attack, which was usually Coop Miners, chipped in with another 6 goals too. And then a lot of these defensive winger types just getting involved, right? Lookman played defensive winger a lot, 6 goals, 5 assists, 6 goals, 8 assists for Hateboer, who played a lot of defensive winger. The goals are just coming from all over, a little bit here, a little bit there. Pasalic in only 25 games scored 9. Same with Ederson. They split time as that secondary shadow striker a lot. So it's a very balanced distribution of stats where you kind of are attacking from all angles with this tactic. So I think it's something you should really look into. Once again, you can always join for more information and details through the Patreon, which there's a link to that in the description. And again, special thanks to Ultre and Mate Benchik for getting involved in that Patreon here on the ground floor. I'm reviewing one of Ultre's tactics today and sending him a write-up on what I think that can take and really propel the tactic forward. So if that's something you'd like to take advantage of as well, follow that Patreon link in the description. And once again, find that to support the channel and help me grow as a creator as well. So again, Discord link is in the description. Dropbox link in the description to download this tactic and others. Get involved, please. Let me meet you in the comments and meet you in that Discord server. Potential drafts coming in the future as well. So lots of opportunities to get involved into my content and into the Total Tactics testing database, which should be hitting its beta phase very soon. And all patrons have beta access to the testing database before it hits the general public. So stay tuned for that. But until next time with tactic number 10 next week, enjoy FM23 and I'll see you later.